G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, back at it again with another episode of r/AmiTheA. Now if you love this video, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn on the barbie, a like on the video, and get ready for some bloody good content. Posted by user FleshLicker8. Titled, Am I the a-hole for ignoring my stepmother in front of her boss? So, I've been living with my stepmother and dad for the past few months. I really dislike my stepmom. She's always insulting me for things that aren't fully my fault, like being socially anxious, and she doesn't treat me like a family member. She also refuses to use my real name, because that's her other, older kid's name too. She calls me by my middle name instead, which I absolutely hate. I told this to her 1,000 times, but she just doesn't care. Yesterday, I went shopping with her for groceries. After we got out of the shop and walked over to the car, she noticed her boss a few cars away and went over there to talk. After a few minutes of me awkwardly standing by the car, she shouted to me to go there and introduce myself. But she, as always, didn't use my real name. I decided to ignore her. I hoped that she will realize her mistake and correct herself, but she kept shouting my middle name. She gave up trying after a while and said goodbye to her boss very soon. Needless to say, she was extremely upset. She remained silent while she was driving home, but I knew that I won't get away with this without an argument. When we got home, she basically exploded. She was shouting at me for like 20 minutes about how I embarrassed her in front of her boss and that I'm immature and childish. My dad also took her side. He understands that I don't like being called by my middle name, but said that I should act like a grown-up and know better than petty revenge. Are they right? Was I acting childish, and should I apologize? No, I don't think you should apologize for being mad at not being called your proper name. Kind of a very childish thing on her end. I'd say it's more malicious compliance than petty revenge, but that's just me. Update. So I talked to her. She said that she didn't realize how much I hate my middle name, and that she doesn't understand why do I care so much. She also said that she's willing to call me by another name of my choosing, but not my real name, because that's her other daughter's name. I'm not saying that I'm happy with this, but it's still better than my middle name. Sadly, it's impossible to make normal-sounding nicknames out of my real name. I'm sorry that I can't answer everyone, but thank you so much for all the advice and support, smiley face. I will try and talk to my dad too when he gets home. Update 2, they are now arguing. Yay! He thinks you should act like a grown-up? She is a grown-up. Why isn't she acting like one? Not the a-hole. Yeah, and honestly, being ignored was the less embarrassing option. If I was the OP, I would have called out, "That's not my name." The fact that OP allows his wife to disrespect his child by not using her name is just so messed up. Charming smile. Hello, stepmom's boss. It's a pleasure meeting you. I'm X. Y is my middle name, but pointed stare at stepmother. I don't like being called that. Passive-aggressive? Yeah. Satisfying? Still yeah. Not the a-hole. She embarrassed herself. If she doesn't respect you enough to call you by your name, why does she want you to meet her boss? If her boss had the same name as her daughter, would she call her boss by her middle name? My dad also took her side. Another bio-parent with no backbone to stand up to the step-parents. Hope you're getting close to departing the nest soon. Nothing I hate more than bio-parents who take a step-parent's side without wavering. Is the need to fulfill your relationship status so goddamn important, you end up being a right ass to your kids? Your kids should always come first, especially to a new wife or girlfriend. I'll never understand why people don't seem to get that. The thing most people don't get is why they do it, when in reality, everyone knows exactly why. It's because they want to get some affection for themselves too. That kind of selfishness leads to the destruction of a parent's relationship with their children. Oh, I get why. I just don't get why the parent doesn't realize the kid always comes first, even if you have to suffer a bit in the process. Like if I lost my wife, once I was ready to start dating again, whoever I dated would have to go through my daughter. If she doesn't like you, or you're not treating her well, I don't care what you can do for me, you're out. Not the a-hole. Does your father call her kid by their middle name because he has a child with that name already, or does he simply have no backbone? Option 2 for certain. Another one of those coward dads who's only out to impress his new family at the expense of the old, I bet. Update: am I the a-hole for ignoring my stepmother in front of her boss? So after the post, I had a long talk with my dad. I told him how much I hate my middle name and that I deserve to be called by my real name. Thankfully, he listened to me for once. He agreed that it's disrespectful towards me and promised that he'll try to peacefully convince my stepmother. Well, sadly, it didn't go as he planned, and they ended up arguing about basically everything, not just me. I didn't want to eavesdrop, but I overheard some things. It was mainly about the kids, money, my dad working too much and my stepmom not working enough, and I suspect that my stepmom cheated on my dad or wanted to cheat on him, but I'm not sure. After a few days, my stepmom left without a word, and now she rarely comes home. Her relationship with my dad is probably over. I just feel so guilty because it was me who ruined their relationship. I just wanted to be called my real name, but now they broke up and they both hate me for ruining their family over this minor thing. Edit: thank you so much everyone for the support. Yeah, I'm just gonna say what a lot of comments are saying. There is no way in hell she broke the relationship. Maybe this little fight was the straw that broke the camel's back, but there is in no way that she is the one that caused this. You didn't ruin their relationship. If their house could be toppled over you asking for respect, it wasn't built on a strong foundation. This is not your fault. They are adults. They ruined their own relationship. You're the kid. That they are in any way throwing blame on you is ridiculous. In fact, they're being immature a-holes for letting you believe any of it is your fault. Absolutely. And the fact that the kid was acting more adult than the adults does not change this basic fact one iota. Not the a-hole. Their relationship problems are not your fault. Not at all. Honestly, sounds like your dad might be better off without her in the long run, but I swear it's not your fault. OP says, I know that it's not my fault that they had problems with their relationship, but if I hadn't made a fuss about it, they would still be together. But thank you. Then, if anything, you help them decide to get out of a bad relationship sooner rather than later, saving everyone time and more heartache. Thank you, that's a good point. I just hope my dad could see how toxic she was, and that he will get over the breakup soon, because he really is angry and mean recently. I'm so sorry. If you think this would help, maybe you could gently remind him that you know he's in pain, and you're sorry that she wasn't the right person for him, but it's unfair to take his anger out on you because you're his child and only want it to be respected. Apparently that might not be good advice according to some comments below that. Not the a-hole here either. That relationship was already coming apart at the seams. You just couldn't recognize the signs until now. Yeah, you're probably right. I think that definitely must be the case. A relationship that was strong wouldn't have fallen apart over calling someone by the right name. If they disagree about money or work, or especially if there was cheating, there would have eventually been an argument and it would have come up. I know it can feel like if only you'd kept it quiet, it wouldn't have happened. But if they had issues they were avoiding, something would have set it off eventually. It really sucks that it was your father finally standing up for you that prompted the discussion, but this isn't your fault. It's your father and your stepmother's. They had lots of opportunities to sort things out and still do. And if they don't or didn't, it's on them. Posted by user Area Cherry Noble. Titled, Am I the a-hole for making my sister-in-law feel bad about saying I should straighten my hair? So, I'm a mixed-race woman, but I'm very black-looking. With that, my hair, while not as kinky as it could be, is very curly. I usually straighten it, but every so often I just let the curls fly. I married into a white family, but it's never been an issue. I think I'm closer to my in-laws than I am to most of my own dysfunctional family. We had a family dinner this week, since some of the restrictions have eased. While having dinner, my mother-in-law and I were discussing some of the hurtful comments I've been hearing these last few weeks. Specifically, a lot of people have been shouting slurs at me in my small city, and someone threw a half-empty can of soda at me. My sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife, who up until this point has been very sweet to me, said, "Well, that's sad. Maybe if you straighten your hair, you'll look less ethnic and people will leave you alone." I just gaped at her for a moment and then said, "Well, my hair had been straight every time, and even if it wasn't, I don't see why that makes it okay for someone to call me a black expletive in the parking lot." The table went quiet and got awkward. My in-laws were all on my side, but my brother-in-law messaged me to tell me her intentions were good and that I humiliated her in front of the family. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? For reference, sister-in-law, who I really do like, is newer to the family. I've been with my husband for 11 years, and they've been married for 1. I don't want her to feel left out or judged. I don't think she meant to hurt my feelings, but she did. I feel especially bad because my other in-laws who have known me defended me, but I don't think she actually meant to be cruel. Just ignorant. She's from a very small white town and hasn't met many people of color. Edits. I officially understand what it means to have your inbox blow up now. I wanted to clarify a few things and give a brief update. I felt like an a-hole because of the environment we were in at the time. I was thinking maybe I could have approached the topic with her later, but I didn't. I also didn't snap or yell at her like some of the comments say. I stated my comment with a slight laugh because it was already so awkward. My sister-in-law is not a racist, like some have implied. I truly believe that. I think she's ignorant on this because she's never had to think about things like this. Does that make it okay? No, but it doesn't mean she's disgusting. I'm taking the overwhelming not the a-hole as a sign that I didn't need to wait for a safe space to make my comment. I've also already texted her this morning about meeting up today, and she responded very enthusiastically. I think this is an opportunity for growth, so I'm gonna take it. I also think that if we all hold the view we shouldn't have to be the ones to teach them so close, we may lose out on some really good chances to build bridges instead of walls. I don't have to be the sole source of her black education, but I can definitely be a cliff note. I think the OP put that really well. Unfortunately, what she said was still very much racist, even if it was ignorant. It's an unfortunate circumstance of using your words and not completely understanding what you're saying, and then you're setting yourself on fire. So, unfortunately, OP is not the a-hole. The friend is still the a-hole in the situation for saying that, regardless of if it was her intention or not, because it was still racist. Absolutely not the a-hole. Even if she didn't have bad intentions, but I mean, seriously? She needs to learn that what she said was not okay. That was straight up racist and ignorant on several levels. For real. It's crazy to think that OP is the one feeling guilty when the sister-in-law insinuated that it was essentially her fault that she was harassed for not performing whiteness well enough. Victim blaming 101. Sister-in-law deserves to feel embarrassed, and if she's worth anything, she'll learn from this and apologize to OP. Imagine being told your hair texture is a good reason for you to be harassed, and then being guilted for calling out the terrible racism in logic. If anything, hopefully this leads to greater conversations about racism with sister-in-law, because guaranteed this one sentence is not just a random thought. I'm so confused why people are so against kinky hair. It's another way hair grows. It looks good. Why are they so against it? I don't get it either. People pay good money for a perm. Maybe not the same, but close. Not the a-hole. You were right to be shocked. It's also great that you understand her background, so you're not mad at her. But I'd say she is the a-hole if she had your brother-in-law text you about it, focusing on a little goof instead of focusing on you and the much tougher public yelling and name-calling you've been through. I'd vote that you reach out an olive branch to her. What she said is not okay, but her heart is in the right place, and she's willing to learn. Maybe you can ask your brother-in-law to share some resources with her to get her more educated. I did message him and tell him that I never wanted her to feel humiliated, but the suggestion was pretty silly and ignorant. I do think she is a wonderful person, but she doesn't have a ton of experience with people of color, so I hope it's just the comments of a silly young person. She might really benefit from hearing from you herself. I'm not at all saying it is your responsibility to educate her, and I understand that many people of color must be tired of being in that educator position right now. But if you want, I think it could really help her to understand the implications behind her comment and how she can be more mindful in the future. Because the way you write about her sounds like she doesn't have malicious intent, just flat out ignorance. By the way, I'm so sorry that those things are happening to you. I live in a pretty white area, and it's hard for me to grasp the magnitude of racism that's going on. But when I read stories like yours, I try my best to erase some of that ignorance that I have and do my part to help be the change. I'll be sending you good vibes and prayers. Update. Am I the a-hole for making my sister-in-law feel bad for telling me I should straighten my hair? I originally wrote this post the day after my initial post. That's why the timeline is the way it is. So my sister-in-law and I met this morning for coffee. Coffee turned into lunch, turned into pre-dinner drinks. We literally have been together all day. She mentioned she has been trying to figure out how to reach out to me for a few days, but I did it for her. She apologized and assured me that she was humiliated, but not because of me directly, but because as soon as I made my response, she realized how stupid her comment was. She was also texting brother-in-law because she had no idea he reached out to me and was mortified. She offered to let me read the texts, but I declined. That's between them. We talked about my hair and my life story and microaggressions. We also discussed the Black Lives Matter movement, and I find that we have more in common than I ever could have hoped. She cried, I cried. It was a very open moment, and her words, I really never understood, tell me everything I need to know. Although there were probably some very concerned baristas wondering what the hell was happening. I did tell her it would be a very beneficial thing to look into some literature because her future nieces and nephews will deal with similar issues, and she downloaded some books while sitting with me at the table. She told me she just wants to know what to do because she is just clueless. I think that's fair. If you never had to put out a fire, you may panic when your stove is suddenly engulfed in flames. I hadn't heard from brother-in-law yet, but we literally just left each other a little bit ago, and she's got some words for him. Really, I'm actually very happy this happened. We had a great chance to get to know each other even better. We even discussed theology, as she is very Christian and I am an atheist/former avid churchgoer, and even that conversation was very positive, rather than accusatory or uncomfortable. We're meeting again next week. I may have just inadvertently started up a bit of a book club, winky face. I assured her she is more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. I'd rather she have someone she cares about that also cares about her help her in her development, rather than making a blunder in front of someone potentially less forgiving. She wants me to call her on her dumb statements, and I'm happy to do so. Again, I stand by what I said. She's a wonderful person suffering from some ignorance, but she's open to learn, and I couldn't ask for more. And since the first typewritten update, we've had lunch and/or dinner 3 times since. It's been very fun, and such a relief to spend time together. My brother-in-law has since texted me as well, and we had lunch too, as a group, and he's already apologized. He was trying to defend his wife, but didn't stop to think about the circumstances. We are all good now. It's been very fun to have an excuse to spend more time together. Thanks for everyone that reached out. I'm glad I took initiative. Edit, some people have asked which books I've suggested, and I wanted to let you know which ones she's downloaded on the spot. First, since she works with young adults, I suggested The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. She ordered a few copies and wants to put it in her classroom for next year. Second, White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism by Robin DiAngelo. I hadn't read this myself, but we read that description together. Third, Hair Love, the children's book. I've given her some good places to look for more resources, but she's working through those 3 first. She actually started with Hair Love, and we had a really good chat about it. Incidentally, after we talked about it, we got drinks, and I was carded. My DL has straight hair, and she commented on it. The woman carding me complimented my natural hair, saying I should update my ID with my natural hair. She loved my curls. Funny how that works out. Iloni says, being willing to learn is one of the most important things there is. Inevitably, people miss out on learning things and will end up saying stupid things in these situations. However, If they acknowledge their mistake and are willing to learn, then I wish them all the best. Happy to hear this turned out so well. There's a difference between ignorance and racism. Can ignorance come from or express racism? Yes. But if they're willing to grow and learn, then why hate them and force them to never have the chance to become better? Now, if they're ignorant but refuse to learn and grow, then that's a different story that could grow to become full-on racism. But fortunately for OP, that's not what's happening here. She has a family member who acknowledges they were in the wrong, is even mortified, and instead of doubling down and insisting that it was a compliment or she didn't mean it like that and backing herself into a corner, she came forward and wants to do and be better. No, dude. Racism coming entirely from a place of ignorance is still racism. Does it make you a fundamentally horrible person? No. Not if you're willing to learn. But call a spade a spade. Let's ignore the question of slavery itself for a second. Someone in the 1860s who thought black people were genetically inferior because that's all they were taught, when there were no resources available to the contrary, was still racist. Alright, so I think we've exhausted discussion on this one. Let's move on to the next post, shall we? This next one I've covered before, but I'm just going to read the initial post and then read the update and read some of the comments on that. Posted by user Goodbye My Boy, titled, Am I the a-hole for giving guardianship of my son to my aunt over my mother after I die of my terminal cancer? I, 21 male, have a son who just turned 1. His mum, who was my girlfriend, died in labor along with the other baby she was carrying. I was diagnosed with terminal cancer 3 months ago, and I don't have very long left. 2 months at most. I have accepted that I'm going to die, but now I have to think about what's best for my son. I have decided who my boy would go to, and I thought my mother, 55, naturally, but then I started to think of her situation as my older, 29, lives with her along with his 5 kids, all aged under 5. And I decided not to, as mum works, and my brother, to be honest, isn't really raising his kids, more dragging them up, and can be neglectful. I wasn't going to put my son in that environment, as I want someone to actually care for him. So I then thought of my aunt, 33, on my dad's side. She's a good mother, and her husband a good father to their 3 girls, and I know they could provide for my son. I asked them, and they agreed. My mother, however, found out that I wasn't leaving my son with her, and she got angry with me, that she's losing me and now losing her grandson. I gave her my reasons, and that she realistically can't raise him while she's basically raising a man-child and his kids. It all ended in an even bigger argument, and now I'm cooling off at home. I understand that things are terrible for her right now, as I won't be here soon, but my aunt is a much better choice. It's not like my son won't know who she is, as the walk between hers and my aunt's is only 5 minutes. Am I the a-hole? And across the board, it's a no. No universe could you, a dying father, be the a-hole in this situation. It's just not possible. You see the situation for what it is, and you have to put your son in the best spot possible. It's only a 5-minute walk to mum's, and you see your sibling for who they are, so definitely not the a-hole. Updates. Am I the a-hole for giving guardianship of my son to my aunt over my mother after I die of my terminal cancer? First off, I'd like to say thanks to everyone who gave their suggestions and well wishes. Unfortunately, I didn't get to read everyone's comments as there are too many, but thanks to everyone anyway. Now on to the update. I gave my mother a few days to calm herself down before speaking to her again. She eventually came around. She recognizes that it's not optimal for my son to stay with her and that he would be better with my aunt. She knows that my brother is a slob and is giving him a good kick up the arse to get his life together and crap. I've spoken with a lawyer who has helped me with a lot of things, including getting my son legally adopted by my aunt and her husband. He will still be staying with me until I pass. As a lot of you suggested, I made recordings and videos of myself giving him advice for his milestones. For example, when he loses his first tooth, turning the ages 10, 13, 16, 18, 21, his girlfriend, or boyfriend if he likes. I've made a video in case he is in any way LGBT+, leaving secondary school, going to uni, getting married, or if he has any kids. There are also things I've put into writing, like how his mother died and that he was supposed to grow up with a twin brother that also sadly passed. I've also had my lawyer help me set up a little trust to will him £40,000 from my girlfriend's father when he died. She put the money in a joint bank account that I got when she passed, in case he needs help with university or decides to go traveling. All I have to do now is to enjoy the time I have left with him, and I've moved my younger brother into my flat so that there will be someone to find me every day for when I go. When I'm gone, I can at least be comforted by the fact that the son I loved so much is being taken care of, and that I will see the girl I love again, and our other angel I never got to meet. Thank you all again. Whilst the circumstance is so heartbreaking, it is beautiful to see the pure love you have for your kid and family. He had it rough, man. OP, you sound like a wonderful gentleman. I would write a letter saying how special he is. Honestly, and just write him a letter for when he's 16 or something, explaining how much you love him. Oh, this is so sad. Good luck, buddy. Edit, imagine if the sun could update us. Wow. I would also consider making some videos for the bad times as well. First heartbreak, getting an F or failing a class, not getting the job he wanted, not getting into the university he wanted. My father was always there for the good times, but when I tended to need him the most was in the bad times to help steer the boat back in the right direction. Also, maybe record a video of the talk, as that's another big thing. And tell him not to use drugs to cope. Seriously, don't just wait for 10 to give him a letter. My kid is 11 and has a memory like a steel trap. He remembers things from when he was 2 years old. Unbelievable. I'm sorry you're going through all this. You are amazing and kind and incredibly loving. Godspeed. Alright, that's where I think I'm going to end today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry if that last one hurt you emotionally, but it's a beautiful story, and I'm glad that the son is getting a good send-off. I'm going to throw you guys to outro Markee now. Alright guys, that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Tell me what you thought of it down in the comments below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, I would love you to subscribe because I love your face and I love seeing you here every single day that you are here in this video. I don't know what else to say today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the content. I do have a second channel that's called Markee2. Link should be up on the screen somewhere here if you don't have adblock installed. If you don't know where to find the channel, you can go to my main page. Just click on the Markee face and it should be on the right somewhere there, or on channels if you're on phone. Hope you guys have a good one. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.